All right, everybody, Stephen Key. I'm here with my favorite guest, Marc Portney. How you doing, Marc?
Venture capitalist Marc Portney. He's brought hundreds of products to market.
I guarantee that you have at least one item in your house that I was responsible for.
The second he's convinced of a product, he'll invest.
Doing great. You shouldn't really say that. The other guests are going to get jealous.
Oh, they don't watch it. You know,
Yeah,
maybe they
don't.
do. I doubt it.
Okay. Who watches this anyway?
You're the one they always comment on, you know. And
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
I want to ask you some things. I know we've had you on quite a few times, but I want to dig a little deeper in some other areas. Okay, and
Sure.
I want to talk about, you know, you've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've been doing it for a long time. And we've learned a lot of tricks along the way and strategies along the way. And we probably have learned, if looking back, there's probably certain skills that you have today and I have today and other entrepreneurs that have done it long enough that are probably pretty important to be successful. Right. And so if you were starting over again, or if you had someone that was 18 years old that came to you and said, hey, Marc, I want to be a creator. I want to be an entrepreneur. What advice would you give that person just starting out that's got a complete blank slate that can just do anything? What would you tell them to do?
Does running for the hills count as advice?
Yes, it does.
Cup your ass and run for the nearest door. That's what I would tell them. But I mean, things have changed dramatically. Obviously, Stephen, when you and I first started, there was no cell phones, there was no internet. Now the world is the size of a quarter. So it's so much easier to get eyeballs on you. Do you know what you would have to do back in the day to get 10,000 people to look? And now these videos show 10,000 and even more. It's a much easier deal. But one of the things I would say, honestly, would be you have to do twice as much listening as you do talking. Because at the beginning, people really do want to be helpful. But if you're going to cut me off every 6 seconds or cut anyone off, I'm just going to pack it up. So we're basically farmed. You can farm us, and we would be happy to share because what do we have in it? You know, so mentoring is one of my greatest joys. Absolutely one of my greatest joys. And there's just so much. So what would a 60-year-old Marc Portney tell an 18-year-old Marc Portney would be patience. Patience is a big one. I had zero patience for anything. It was like, okay, I started. Am I a millionaire? What are we doing? You know, and that really, I got disenchanted a lot, frankly. Patience is a number one. If you can find a mentor, absolutely covet that mentor. Whatever it is, whether you have to pay a little money for it or whether it's free. And you know, us old guys, we like to share.
Yeah. What about, you know, someone had reached out to me, a young man, and he said, what should I do? I said, well, to me, there's three functional skills that probably every entrepreneur has or has learned along the way, or maybe has someone on their team that does it. But I would say the first thing is sales. You're going to be selling yourself forever. I mean, even if you're on a date, you're selling yourself. You go to the bank, you're selling yourself. I mean, you are always selling yourself. So storytelling, connecting with people. So find a job, and maybe it's a job that you hate. You know, my first job was going door-to-door sales. And most people didn't like that. Well, I didn't like it either, but I learned about people. Right. So what type of skills would you say? Because I tell everybody, don't be defined by the job. I mean, if you got a job at McDonald's and learned about managing people, that doesn't define you forever, but those are skills.
But if you go to McDonald's and you're flipping burgers, flip those burgers like nobody ever flipped them before. And don't listen to other people's horse shit. They're going to say, oh, no, just flip a couple of burgers. No. I'm going to flip burgers. I'm going to move to the fries. I'm going to do that. If you do something, do it your best. Right. And as far as the people skills, which is what you just described, people skills are incredible to have. Some people have it better than others. Some people's intelligence, which is the emotional intelligence, is much more important in my opinion than intelligence. I'm not the brightest bulb in the batch, but my intelligence is off the scale. So I know basically what everyone's thinking as I'm talking to them, which is all part of going back to your sales skill. And that's a very, very, very important part of doing it. The other thing that dovetails exactly with that would be viciously transparent. I know it's hard. When you're young, you got to be the biggest and the strongest and the smartest. And you go out with a girl, and it's like, Instagram. Look at my car. Look at my shoes. Nobody gives a shit at the end of the day. Be transparent, because long-lasting relationships in business and personally are based on transparency. Okay? I'm going to pick my girlfriend up. I'm married. I'm with my wife 42 years. But I would pick my girlfriend up in my Honda Accord. I'm not going to rent a Bentley or a Mercedes to pick her up, because that shit fades away. And then guess what you're left with? And that goes personally and business. If you try to be somebody you're not in business, that's going to wear away. It's going to wear away.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that? I was on a call with a major retailer the other day, and someone was listening. I had someone on my team that was listening, and this person after the call said, Steve, I can't believe how you handled that. I said, well, what? She says, well, they asked you a question and you didn't know the answer, and you just said, I don't know. And she said, I couldn't believe you didn't try to fake it. And I said, well, that was establishing trust. I don't know. And if I were to try to answer that incorrectly, not knowing, that could not be that transparent, right?
Well, we play this game, Stephen. I never know what you're going to ask me, ever. You never tell me the subject matter. You never tell. You know why? Because if I don't know something, I'm right there, and I'm going to say, Stephen, like, ask me a patent question. I don't know. I have a patent attorney for that. I hire a professional for that. I have no shame in my game to tell you I don't know something. When we do IGA, when we open the floor up, and nothing's out of bounds. You can ask Mark anything you want. You know why I'm not afraid? Because if I don't know it, I'm going to be right there. I'm going to say, listen, man, I don't know, but I'll get back to you, because I will find out. Is there a sin in that? Do you look like less of a person? As a matter of fact, it's quite the opposite. They have much more respect for you by telling them the truth and getting back to them. And if they don't, then they're an asshole.
Yeah. No, it builds trust. You know what's really interesting? That I can get back to you. I love that, because, most entrepreneurs know how to learn, right? And they know that maybe they don't know what they can find out about it. But I want to get back to these skills for a minute, because I'm 18 years old. And of course I want to be here at the top, but I know that I've got to build some of these skills. So I'm trying to tell people, look, pick up a job that does sales. So you just learn about people. Who cares? You could do it yourself, like a lot of entrepreneurs. I'm going to do everything myself, learn it the hard way. Okay, that's great. There's no problem with that. But sometimes you can learn from others. Sometimes you can jump into other situations. I also tell someone, if you can jump in on a startup, you should take that opportunity. Yeah. You will learn a lot on somebody else's dime. You should be paying them all the stuff that you're going to learn.
It's free tuition. You're 100% right.
Yeah. Those are those functional skills I keep on telling someone they're first starting out. I don't know if I listened to that myself at that age.
I didn't either. I just thought I could knock the brick wall down by putting on a helmet and bashing into it until it came down. And everybody told me, you can't bash that down. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm 18. Watch me. I take the helmet, I put it on. I just little chips came off, little chips. And then finally the wall came down. But it was many years later. If I was smarter, I would have watched somebody else take a wall down, so I could have said, hey, you don't need a helmet. You don't need to keep bashing your head into the goddamn thing.
Yeah, so that comes back to what you said earlier about finding a mentor, finding a coach, or finding information. I said to someone the other day, you think it's a patent problem or a prototype problem or a money problem. Sometimes it's a knowledge problem.
In a big way, most of the time it's a knowledge problem. Because, and we'll get to this probably in the next interview, but I can't tell you how many people present to me that I just click off of immediately. Yeah. And they'll say to you, oh, Stephen, the companies aren't responding to me. No, they're just watching. It's not always the product. Sometimes it's the presentation, and you don't know it. So what do they have to do, Stephen? They have to acquire the knowledge through InventRight or me or whatever, and they need to acquire that knowledge so that when they're presenting, they're putting their best foot forward. Knowledge is power. We hear it a million times, but do we really know what it means? This is what it means.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. But everybody, you guys, Stephen Key and Mark Portney here. Watch the next video. We're going to talk about working with companies. We're going to go behind the scenes so you know why they're clicking off. So stay tuned, Stephen Key. Subscribe down below, and I'll see you in a few minutes.